Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by TheLines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander flying solo tonight as it is late night here on the West Coast on Friday night as all these games in the NBA tonight ended, and I'm looking at tomorrow's slate on Saturday as we want to keep things rolling here just because it's the weekend. We are not taking a break for you guys, bringing you some best bets, mostly player props in this video as I've got a bunch of picks in here, including one game under that I'll give you guys as well, so make sure to continue to follow along, like and subscribe to that page. I'm also going to be bringing you another one of these for Sunday. I think I'll have Nate back with me, not sure, positive about that yet, but we will have a video up for you either way with just me or Nate as well. Definitely want you to head to thelines.com as well. I'm putting the picks up there and articles each and every day, and we also have the odds finder tool on there. You can use that to make sure you're getting the best juice back on all your bets this NBA postseason. Just running through what happened, I'm going to quickly say it was bad on Friday night. It was the first losing night for me anyway in a very long time after a super solid week that was 9-1 before the 0-3 spurt that we hit tonight, and that was in part because RJ Barrett decided that he was going to play well in the playoffs for the first time in his entire career, and playoff Jamal Murray was held in check, missed a number of wide open shots, but the Timberwolves were definitely game planning for him and still got their butts kicked by those Nuggets. We're going to move on here, I am anyway, into my very first pick of the night. I'm looking at Tyrese Maxey, and we know that the 76ers are going to be without Joel Embiid in this one, and so there's plenty of things that I like. I know this game is really, really early, so there's not going to be that much time for everyone to see it before this game starts off, but I think Tyrese Maxey is going to be one of the better bets. I'm going 27.5 points and assists for him. That's minus 105 on DraftKings. I like the adding the assists in there because even though Harden's probably going to be doing the bulk of the point guard duties, Maxey still gets a ton of assists, including about 5 a game when he plays without Joel Embiid. I also think it's worth it to hit the 4+ threes for him at 100 plus 170 on FanDuel there. I'm a half a unit on that one. And then the leading scorer of the game as well, I'm going to throw up a quarter of a unit on him to be that at plus 220. It's either him or Mikal Bridges on the Nets that's going to get this. And you can even get plus odds for Mikal to be the leading scorer in the game at about plus 130. And I still like that as well. So diving into Maxey without Embiid, there's 10 games basically this season, 29 points per game in those 10 games and about 38 minutes that he's playing with a 29% usage. Like I said, he averages those 5 assists as well and 3.5 boards, just throwing that out there, 3.5 threes without Joel in those 10 games. And obviously that is not in the playoffs where in these last two, he has he has 11 made threes on 21 attempts in those last 2 games. And that's, in the 35 minutes that he's been playing in the first 2 games on average. I think it's pretty good, going to be a pretty good matchup for him. Everything kind of changes, obviously, when Joel's not in there. I do like the fact that he gets double teamed, does Joel, and then that leaves Maxey open on some of those switches when they get the imbalance on the defense. But honestly, even the way that things are going to be going now, Mikal's guarding Harden. That's who he was on in in the first couple games, and who they really are just relying on to be the Harden stopper, if you will, and doing a pretty good job. I mean, Mikal's one of the best one-on-one defenders in the league at this point, if not the best, honestly. So it makes a ton of sense that he would continue to play on Harden the entire game, which means that guys like Dinwiddie are just going to get barbecued by Tyrese Maxey continuously, like they already have been in the first 3 games of this series. Dinwiddie's been spending the most time on him and just getting absolutely roasted for like 12 points in about 7 minutes in the last game, and then the game before, pretty much the same numbers there for Tyrese Maxey against Dinwiddie at this point. So I continue to like Tyrese Maxey in this one, and I'll just throw one more pick out there for you guys from this game. I'm going back to Nick Claxton's under. There's a couple guys on Twitter that we've been talking about this. Like, I'm just going to keep hitting it, man. Every time that he has this total, it's about 9.5 at this point. It didn't hit the first one because he got 10, although I did hit it live and tweeted that out at you guys as well, that if you got it at 10.5 live and went under, that hit because he got 10 boards. It's minus 125 on DraftKings. Throwing a unit on that as well. I'll just repeat some of the stuff I said, but this is really going to be mostly about B-ball Paul Reed, who's going to be in there for Joel as his main substitute, with a bunch of McDaniels in there as well. But Philly is allowing the second fewest rebounds per game since the All-Star break. They're playing at the slowest pace. I know there's going to be rebounds because of a lot of ugly missed shots, because these, Brooklyn's not very good on offense, really, really bad, in fact. The Philadelphia is not missing very much at all. I mean, it's not been a very pretty series so far on offense by any means, but they still are the number one true shooting percentage team in the league on the season. Getting to the free throw line, they'll do that less now that Joel's not in there, obviously. 6 fewer free throws a game without Embiid on the season, so you can expect that to be the case. The offensive rating goes down, obviously, as well, but the points actually go up because the pace picks up as well by like a couple possessions per 100. So the numbers in terms of the totals go up a bit for the 76ers as they score 118 points a game without him. Shoot a really nice percentage, same about 49% from the field, 38% from deep without Joel. So like still very solid percentages, offering less rebounds obviously to the Nets and to the other team. But I do want to give B-Ball Paul, that is his official nickname on basketballreference.com, Paul Reed, who will be coming in there, backup center, and does a really good job on the season. The team rebounds better when Joel's not in there. It's a lot more of a team effort when it's not just, okay, well, the dude who's standing over there 7'3" at 285 pounds will probably get the rebound because also he moves like a soccer player. So he can be very quick to the ball. That's not going to be the case in this one. And when Paul Reed was on the court on the season, they actually had a better defensive rebound percentage, did the 76ers, as a team. Jaden McDaniels is also going to get in there and go for a ton of boards as well, because he's another guy who really, really good on-off numbers for him in terms of the rebound percentage for the 76ers when he's on the floor. So they're going to want that. The team as a whole gives up fewer rebounds, in part because they're making a few more shots per game without Joel on the floor this season. And not even on the floor, in the lineup. In the games that they played without him this season, there were 16 that he missed, 39.5 rebounds per game for the opponent when Joel's off, not in the lineup, and then 41.5 when he is in the lineup. So I like all of that stuff, and I'm going to continue to fade Claxton to get under 10 boards. He hasn't done it in the last 2. I don't expect him to do it in this one. So it is late, like I told you. Moving on to my next one here, we've got Chris Paul. I'm going under for Mr. Paul, who obviously has been negatively impacted in terms of his personal stats since Kevin Durant came to the team. KD will do that. He is a vacuum for all kinds of stats, including some of the rebounds and assists that Mr. Paul has been used to. He's only hit his prop of 14.5 rebounds and assists that I'm going under here 3 times in the 11 games that he's played with KD. One of those was the first game of the series where he had 21 combined rebounds and assists and actually failed to get 10 points. But prior to when KD was here, 9.5 assists per game and 4.5 rebounds per game, which is good for right about 14 there, which would be right around the prop, still under for this one, which is why it's really high, in my opinion, for Chris Paul to get all these boards and assists. I know he's done a pretty good job rebounding, 10 boards in 2 games so far for the short point guard, which is pretty nice. But there's just a bunch more guys now to guard him in terms of, shorter guys who are quicker. And really, most importantly, Norm Powell is about to lock him up once more. In game 1, basically, let me put it this way. As long as Eric Gordon is not guarding Chris Paul, then we're in a good spot for him to go under. So in game 1, he cooked Gordon for all those rebounds and assists, was just outplaying him all over the floor in the 7 minutes almost 8 minutes that Eric Gordon guarded him. In games 2 and 3, no more Gordon on Chris Paul. In fact, game 3 was Norm Powell, which is what we're going to see again. No Kawhi in the lineup. Hopefully you knew that before you start watching this video, as Kawhi's out again on Saturday, as well as Embiid. So Norm Powell in that last game, who looked like Michael Jordan with 42 points, maybe the 15th best player in the NBA or something right now, but I don't know if he's going to necessarily do that again, but he's going to be on the floor for that amount of time. He's going to be starting, and he's going to be the one guarding Chris Paul, as he did in game 3 there, where he did limit Paul to under this prop as well, and I continue to think that will be the case. And even when it's not Norm Powell, the point is, it's not Eric Gordon. It's Terrence Mann. And Terrence Mann has done a much better job on Chris Paul as well, limiting him to 1 assist in the time that he guarded him. Norm Powell limited him to just 1 assist in about 7.5 minutes as well. And really, the other reason he got assists in that game 1 was because Kawhi was guarding him for a good amount of time. And then Kawhi would get switched off of Chris Paul. Other way around. Kawhi would be guarding KD or Book, one of those two guys would set a screen for Chris Paul's guy, and then now you've got Kawhi on Chris Paul, and the switch is Eric Gordon or somebody to that effect on one of KD or Book, who are able to just cook him, and that's how he got a bunch of assists in that game one. So I'm going to finish things off here, also talking about the other game in LA that we've got the Lakers hosting the Grizz this time, and I'm going after some LeBron James stuff here because LeBron is probably pretty mad, even though he didn't want. I mean, the way he ended this recent interview where the media was asking him about Dillon Brooks and the way that Dillon Brooks was chatting in his face and talking trash and getting after LeBron personally, which was really embarrassing for Dillon Brooks because he hit a three that was probably a game clinching three at the end of game two there, but like it gave him 9 points, and he's talking to LeBron, like, who had 28 points for some reason. So I'm not really sure where Dillon Brooks gets off. Nobody does, but that's the gall that he has. I think is going to be his downfall once again. He's like, LeBron's just going to be in kill mode. So I should be clear here. I'm going to go after a bunch of LeBron stuff. So double and Los Angeles to win with their money line plus 168 on FanDuel. That's a unit. I'm going for over 2.5 stocks, which is steals and blocks combined for LeBron here, plus 140 on DraftKings for him to get 3 blocks and steals combined. I'm just going to run through some of it for you. Like I said, kill mode. If you're going to take the points, by the way, it's at 28.5. Just get it to 30. If you want the 30 and LeBron for a win, that player performance double is available on FanDuel as well. You can get that for plus 178, a little bit better juice for him to do that than the double. But I'm not really trying to mess around with that quite as much with the points. I do think it's the hustle stats that I'm looking at for him. Like I said, with kill mode, like, yeah, I think he's going to be getting a ton of points. But I do think he wants to get others involved and doesn't necessarily need to like use all of his effort just scoring all over the floor. I could be wrong. That could be what his focus is. But I think these hustle stats are what you want. And so like the rebounds at 9.5 is good. It's like even money. But I'm taking the 10 boards for him basically with the win is what I'm going after. I don't think the assists are really what I'm looking for here because I do think kill mode for LeBron will also be getting a bunch of points. So I like the stocks because I think he's going to be hunting Dillon Brooks. So I like those to be a couple of that. I think he's going to be so locked in that's going to be, where his focus is like get easy points, make them look stupid, which means blocking them and stealing them and scoring in transition. So double doubles in 4 of his last 6 games versus Memphis. Really enjoys playing them as well. He had 9 boards in the other 2 games that he failed to get a double double in them in his last 6. Steven Adams was playing in those games. So was what's his name? I'm sorry, Brandon Clark also playing in that game. Backup center. Xavier Tillman's doing really well, but Brandon Clark was basically their small ball center all season long. He was in there as well, another great rebounder. So with those 2 guys in there, LeBron still had 9 boards. Without them, you've seen what he's done in the last 2 games, 12 boards and 11 boards in the first 2. So I like the stocks. He hit this in his last 2 as well in terms of getting more than 2 blocks and steals combined. So I think that's a pretty good bet for plus money there at plus 140, like I said. And I did want to throw one more thing at you guys that I probably should have teased a little bit. Hopefully you're all still with me here, as I'm going to give you like a nice little same game parlay. We had somebody jump in the comments on the YouTube page there and ask that we maybe just throw something in with like some long shot odds at the end, knowing that we're not, maybe like 0.2 units, maybe a quarter of a unit that you want to throw on something that gets you a little bit better juice. So I built one real quick on DraftKings, which was the best place to find what I wanted, which was just have some fun with the hustle points hustle stats that I think are coming for LeBron and for Anthony Davis as well. So I mean, AD 5 blocks last game, 7 blocks the game before, 3 steals as well in game 1. I'm going to go with 3 picks here that get you plus 850 on your money there for a same game parlay on DraftKings. Memphis and LA is the game obviously here. LeBron's blocks, 2 of them. AD's blocks, 3 of them. And then LeBron to get more than 9.5 boards. All 3 of those together gets you to plus 850, right? So 8-1 on your money. That all of that happens there. And I feel pretty good about it. Honestly, I think AD continuing to get those hustle points and stats, like I keep saying, is another good bet. As there's Xavier Tillman's not exactly a fast guy, so you can get blocks on him. Jaren Jackson Jr. is undersized compared to AD, and everybody else is just food for AD to block if they come anywhere near the basket, as he's been on a defensive tear for a while now and has gotten all of those blocks that I just said, the 3 blocks there, he's hit 80% of the time in his last 12 games. So I'd feel pretty good about him hitting that again. And that is all the time I have for you guys in this one. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along. Might have Nate back for you guys for the video that we're putting out on Sunday morning. Either way, until I see you then, happy betting.